All right. So hi and welcome everyone. This is Abhyuday Agarwal from LawSikho. I have with me Hrideja Shah, and we are conducting an exciting webinar on how to go about improving your cover letter and building up your CV and the application process. So I have with me Hrideja Shah, and she has been. I'll give a brief background about her, and she can introduce her venture as well. So she's a dual qualified attorney. She's got a master's. She did her LLB from Jindal. 1 second. I need to mute the video on broadcast. Yeah. So she did her LLB from Jindal Global Law School and an LLM from Berkeley. And she's dual qualified in India as well as California. And she has a venture called Legal Scholars, where she's helping law students write better and improve their, I think, CVs. She's been working a lot on that. And we've also been writing a blog and giving updates on private equity, venture capital, and M&A. And thank you, Hrideja, for taking out the time to actually coach students and take this webinar with us. And if there's anything you'd like to add about your venture, Legal Scholars, or anything about your work, you can please add.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. And I think you perfectly summarized my background. Just that Legal Scholars also works on improving like how to properly research apart from write and analyze.
Got it.
So it's like an entire process wherein I first tell them how to research, and then once they submit, I tell them how they could have written it and analyzed it.
Great. So I'm going to invite participants on chat to quickly mention to us that, if you're a law student looking to apply in which kind of areas, so that we have a sense, which year are you in, where are you a law student, are you a lawyer, what is it actually you're looking at? Although I think our target is actually law students here, the most important beneficiaries would be law students, but there are others who may be there in this session. So you can say what you're doing if you're there, and we can also know that what is the kind of audience we have, so we can adjust the webinar accordingly. Okay, so you all are most welcome to write on chat about this. Yeah, over to you, Hrideja. So how do you want to structure the session?
I think I would like to start with how to build your resume, and then move on to cover letters, because I think your cover letter mostly depends on how your resume is built. So I would first start with resume and then move on to cover letter and talk about how you need to apply both of these together in an internship or a job application. Does that sound all right?
Perfect. And would you like to have questions from me or from the participants from time to time? Usually how I like to structure it is ask questions every 3 or 4 minutes so that we can interact and build a conversation together. And the second is that every 10 or 15 minutes, we can take a few questions from participants. And that usually keeps everyone engaged. Can we use that? If that's okay?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yeah, absolutely. That's all right. Like, I don't mind questions in between at all.
Okay, great. Okay, so a lot of them are law students, and some of our viewers are also, one of them is a lawyer who just graduated basically. So yeah, this is actually quite relevant to you. Richard Rajesh Kumar, yeah. Okay, so let's go ahead, Hrideja.
All right. So I'm going to start with a basic format on how your resume should look like. So this is what I believe is a format that every law firm in India adheres to, and something that
I just have a question before you go into a deep dive into the format. What do people struggle with when they approach you? Because you've been helping people do this, right? So for example, if people write to LawSikho, they're usually talking about what's the model CV I can use, or how do I build up my CV? And there will be some basic mistakes we are used to seeing that people need to be mindful of. So what has your experience been? If you could start from there, like where people approach you from, what are the key gaps you've seen, and then you can show the CV also.
So most of the students that I come across have a completely reverse chronology of how the CV should look like. Okay. So a lot of them have education and then additional qualifications, completely negating that internship experience or work experience actually comes first if you're in the first few initial years of your career. That is one of the mistakes that I see a lot. The second I see is that a lot of students put a declaration under their resume, which is really uncommon, and I don't think that a declaration is required stating that whatever I've stated is true, because I think law firms and everyone, they just expect you to write what is actually there and what you've actually done.
Right.
That is the second mistake. And the overall mistake that I find is a lot of formatting errors, a lot of errors in how their entire sections are drafted.
Yeah, there is a lot of tendency to gloss over formatting and, you know, dismiss it as being unimportant, or, you know, people don't know how to improve their formatting, so they just let it pass. But the thing is that when a law firm recruiter or any recruiter sees it, they are very used to noticing these gaps. And, you know, there's that little paragraph break which sometimes comes in after you write your internship and what you did, and you'll realize that it's happening for one line but it's not happening for others, and a lot of us tend to ignore it. But when a recruiter sees it, it's very jarring. And then if you ask somebody, like this happens so many times, when I ask people why is this there, they are either unable to explain it or they expect me to ignore it. Okay, so that's like one of the things that happens. And every recruiter, like, for in the courts, your filing can be rejected because of these kinds of defects. Like if your line spacing is not 2 and 1.5 or 1.15, this can happen. And if you're a corporate lawyer, obviously your agreement which goes out, it's not uniform looking, then the client gets a bad impression. I mean, and the simplest way to check this is from someone's CV.
Absolutely correct. I mean, I see a lot of students who completely negate the fact that each and every heading, each and every subheading has to be in the exact particular format. And I just don't see that happening. And when I tell them that, you know, that is also an error that rejects your application, they're just like, but everything else is in order. So why reject over a small issue? And I think that's something that really needs to be addressed in law schools overall.
Right.
So talking about the format, this is what I usually recommend for students or even fresh graduates, is that first you have your educational qualifications in the reverse chronological order. So your law school comes first with your current CGPA, your cumulative grades for the semester so far, and the anticipated date of graduation or your date of graduation, whichever it is. Then comes your internship experience.
You want to screen share? You want to screen share right now?
I don't really have anything on my screen.
You were saying that you want to share a format to.
Oh no, I just like in words, not like.
Okay, fine.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So then, like an internship experience, wherein you describe your internships in a chronological order. I'll talk about the internship and how the bullet points and everything needs to be done later. After internship experience, what I usually like, what recruiters usually see is what you've done in law school, apart from your extracurriculars. So, which is like, have you done moot courts, debate competitions, publications, research work under professors or particular societies, things like that. And then they move on to extracurriculars that, apart from law school activities, what else have you done? Like being in the sports team or being in the dance team of your particular university. And finally, additional courses, skills, and languages and interests. So that's the format that I recommend. But I'm like, if you have anything to add in it, please do.
But can you explain like how things like dancing and how these aspects of your career can be relevant of your during your education? If you did these, then how can these be relevant for, let's say, a job in as a junior to a senior, or in a law firm, or as an in-house counsel?
So your life is not only about what you do as a lawyer, but it shows how you are overall as a person. So
how could somebody use this? Have you used this kind of thing? Yeah.
I have, because I used to be a part of the sports team, the dance team, basically a lot of extracurriculars, the theater team. So I used to do a lot of these extracurriculars apart from publications or moot court societies work. And whenever like I used to get an internship call, they always used to ask me like, why are you doing these extracurriculars? And it just shows that how you are as a person. The best way to tell a recruiter that apart from doing something that I really like in the field of law. This is who I am. This is what those skills, like for example, being a part of a team, it easily shows that if you worked or even danced in a group dance, it knows you can do teamwork. It knows that you have that particular capacity to actually sit and interact with others.
So you should not come across as a brain dead nerd who is one-sided, like a blinkered person. That's one.
I mean, everyone wants someone who has good grades, but grades aren't everything. Like you need to be street smart. You need to have basic human skills. And I think those really develop when you're parts of extracurriculars. Even if you haven't done it so far in your life, even if you do it in college, I think it really helps you give an experience. Right. If you're an introvert, you could probably learn how to socialize and make contacts and be with people. It really helps.
Got it. So it is important for people to be able to explain the connection between the skills they've got or between the activities they've performed. Like if it's dance, then what did you actually learn from that? Or, you may have been a trainer, and what did you learn from being a trainer? Or maybe like, there are people who are in law school also, they are like art of living trainers. Okay, so what did you learn from that? Or you're a part of a dance group, and what did you learn from that? A lot of so if you're at least looking at jobs which require teamwork, and I'm not restricting to law firm jobs or jobs with litigators that may not always value that so much in India, but there are jobs where you will have to operate in a team, and there wherever you've done things in a team, like you've chaired the moot court committee and actually done real work, it counts to say that I actually guided a team of 20 people to organize these events over the year. That really matters.
Absolutely. I mean, I think it's one of the main aspects. Like I keep telling students that don't, in their extracurriculars, they always have like, I did this for the Moot Court Society, I did that for this particular event in college. I'm just like, your extracurriculars are you. What do you like to do? And how is that helping you shape into a lawyer that you're going to become? That's what you need to answer.
Got it. So that actually means that someone needs to actually write down what they've written, what they've done, and actually identify how that shapes them up as a person. And a lot of people may not be aware of it, and it may take some thinking to identify that why they actually are doing this. For example, a lot of people ask me that why did you quit a law firm job to start working on legal education? And I have various answers which I give. I say I was more passionate about this, etc., etc. But recently, I was writing an email about why I did that, and I realized that there were some more subconscious scripts that I was operating by, which actually came to the forefront. I quit it because I thought that if I continue for 6 or 8 years, I will become a law firm partner. But there are other people who will become law firm partners. But it seemed more inspiring to me that if I could actually train people to be effective litigators or law firm partners in the future, that actually would really be more inspiring for me as a personal decision. So now that I've been doing this for 8 years, and I did not know that this was the exact reason why I was doing that. Like it was there somewhere in my subconscious, but I hadn't articulated it. Yeah. So if I'd have probably sat in an interview, I may not have exactly convinced somebody with what I said, though my track record might have said otherwise. Right? But in a law firm interview or in any interview, it's important that your articulation is as good to justify your track record. Otherwise, the interviewer feels that whatever you've done is one thing, but your interview, you don't come across as very articulate or impressive in the interview.
So I'll tell you a couple. So I'll tell a couple of pointers that if the students here have done, like if you're a part of basketball team or football, or you've played tennis, any of the sports basically, or you've been part of any of the extracurriculars, then this is how, if you're asked a question, this is how you can answer. First, when you're playing in competition in sports, you're under a lot of stress, which means that when you're doing the exact pass in a basketball or in football, or you're trying to figure out where to hit the ball on the court, you're analyzing and working under stress. And it's a skill that is required in lawyers. So it's a really nice way to actually let your recruiter or interviewer know that if I can work under stress during competition, the same application happens when I'm doing work as a lawyer.
On a deadline.
Exactly. Because you're going to think, your brain is going to think in the same way. It's going to apply your skills in the same way, like you do probably in a match.
Right.
So that's how I think students can explain and sit and analyze as to how the minutest things in their life actually also shape them as a lawyer.
Okay, so okay, so this is with somebody who's got a lot of experience, who's got some activities and internships and all of that. They've got all of that behind them, so they can write about all this. What about people who are just starting out in second year, first year? They have a lot of opportunity to create a CV of their choice in the way they want to. So what do you suggest to them? How do they sort of build their CV? Because you see that they can create anything they want, they can do anything they want, and they have a choice that which area should I build my CV in, what are the things I should do. So what is your recommendation to them? Like I see a lot of people having, unfocused CVs. Like if your law school curriculum says NGO internship first year, trial court internship second year, corporate internship third year, people tend to naturally assume that in the third year I'm going to get a corporate internship. And you ask a senior in a corporate law firm, what do you rely on? They'll say past internship experience. And then it's obviously not your NGO and criminal law experience that they want to see when they are saying they want past internship experience. But the student expects this as an entitlement, right? Because this is a story that was told to them from the first year that, in third year you'll get a corporate law internship. So how do you actually, what do you suggest to people who have decided that, I want to go in this area or I want to explore that? How do you suggest to them to go about things?
So if you're in the first or second year, I usually don't recommend choosing an area of law that you indefinitely want to work in.
Okay.
That's because mainly you will never know what you want to do until and unless you graduate from law school. I didn't know what I wanted to do as a specialization until I graduated from LLM. My niche of venture capital finance happened because of my LLM. I didn't know it existed until I did my LLM. But I knew that I wanted to do business laws. So I knew that, but that only happened in my final year. That, okay, this is one area of law that I really want to study and have a career in. So I don't ever recommend choosing a specialization in first or second year. And if you're looking for an internship in corporate law firms by the time you're in third year, this is how I suggest, like, you should go about it. Your first 2 years of experience in internship, about how you've just gathered knowledge on how a particular area works, that's the analysis you want to apply in your internship, because now you've studied Companies Act and you understand it a bit, and you want to experience how the practical procedures is. And that's the gateway that I think a lot of students miss, because that comes to cover letter. Because when you're trying to explain why I want a particular internship, they just say, in the past I've done so and so, and it would be a great opportunity to work with you, and thank you for your consideration. And I'm just like, why would they care if you've worked in the past? And it's the same thing that you've written on your CV.
So what's the best why that you've come across?
What's the best
persuasive, convincing, or outstanding why that made, one kind of why is that, look, I'm ready to do the work that you have, and these are the things I have done. It can prove to you that I can do your work, be useful to you, increase your profits, whatever, I can serve the need. But that's also saying that, I have what it takes to succeed and I'll be valuable to you. But what is like a compelling why that you have seen in your experience?
I don't think I've seen a very compelling why, but I think I did come across a person who was applying for internship in fourth year. I think that was 3-4 months ago. And her cover letter was actually very beautifully drafted, wherein she talked about the firm and why she wants to work in that particular firm under that particular practice. She didn't have any internships before that. How she articulated her why was that she's had the experience of different law fields and understands that a corporate internship is what would actually get her the exposure of how she wants to shape her career. She talked about a particular deal that the firm had done by going through the news reports. So that is researching the law firm and talking about it. That this deal inspired me to actually pursue an internship in this sector, and with the skills that I have developed.
You gave an example of a deal.
Yeah, she did.
Okay.
She actually pulled out a newspaper article, and she actually wrote about it.
But how do you know she was not bluffing? Like there was some depth in that?
Because I checked.
Okay.
Because I wanted to make sure that, I'm like, you're not just writing some XYZ thing and sending it across. And she actually happened to be a friend's sister. So I was actually grilling her more than required.
Got it. So, but it looked like she's not just rattling off a deal from the newspapers, but had done some more research.
No, she actually spoke about how that deal inspired her. So you know how a lot of articles on Live Mint talk about so and so person worked on this and this is how the way it happened.
Yeah.
Right. So she actually took that and she's like, that kind of exposure and experience is something that really inspired me. Reading about it inspired so much that doing an internship would definitely help shape her career. And I think that's the best why that I've come across. Because that shows the firm that, okay, she knows about us. She knows the kind of work we do. And she's shown an interest because she's clearly keeping up with the kind of deals that we've done and is well aware about it. She's studied the subject and has developed particular set of skills over a period of time.
Got it. So usually we suggest to people to actually find out the matters that the firm has worked on and also learn a few relevant skills so that they can show that we can actually work on these matters. And one personal experience I had in like 2010 with a lot of foreign law firm interviews, about 3 or 4 I'd given. And I'd prepared for all the, I used to read Business Standard, Live Mint, New York Times Deal Book Blog, and sometimes headlines on Wall Street Journal news. It's paid, so only the titles were free. I used to go through that. And I just felt that there was way too little opportunity in the interview to say that. And, that's where law firm partners wanted something else. And they wanted to know your whole flavor of what kind of person you are versus just knowing that you read about a few deals here and there. So it's very important. I think that we also demonstrate the detail about how it should not look like a last minute activity that, I just went and read up your deal. And I've done some work on it. And it's genuinely inspiring to me. Maybe something about that is really inspiring. They should be able to believe that. What could be inspiring in a complex deal? Now, I think I just wanted to share, like maybe 30 seconds. This was a thought that I had. One thing is that if you talk to other people in law school who are applying for law firm internships, they wouldn't be able to say much about what inspires them about a deal. Like it's usually boring, complex, unrelatable. But what if you could say that the complexity inspired you and you could identify at least 5 or 6 issues that would have to be dealt with? You may not know the answers to them, but at least identify how do I deal with this kind of complexity? What are the legs that I can split the deal into? So, breaking it down into sub problems, that is something that can actually enable somebody to connect the fact that, when you researched on the deal, you also thought a little more and you actually, after thinking that, decided that this inspires you versus this actually bores you to death. Okay. So that can be a way to show. This is what I was thinking.
Absolutely. I think the first thing that recruiters want to see is not what you've done in the past, but like why you want to work with that firm.
Yeah.
And so many cover letters actually lack that entire part. They just mention in the past I've done so and so, and I've developed these skills because of that internship, and now I want to do an internship under you. Yeah. It's a basic cover letter that I think every single person on the planet must be sending them. So it's all about how you stand out, and that compelling reason, like you said, the one where you've just figured out even 1 or 2 issues, that actually helps you set apart from the rest of the crowd.
Okay, so what would your suggestion be to someone who is just graduating? How can they go about improving their CV and be ready uh, for the job they want?
So first of all, make sure that all your internship points, your bullet points are very, very precise. So what I come across often is that a lot of people just write, I researched under Companies Act 2013 and Insolvency and Bankruptcy Act 20, whatever, whichever year it was.
Right.
And they don't actually talk about, okay, what did you research? What was the issue? Why did you research it? What was the task given? So it has to be very precise, down to the exact task that was given to you. So for example, if you are talking about how to issue preference shares under Companies Act, then you talk about research on preference shares under Companies Act, whether they should be done through a private placement or a rights issue and so on.
Yeah, so that's the repeatable part of the whole work that you did, which you can do again and again and talk about in an interview. So it's got a future use also.
Exactly, because when you're being interviewed, they will ask you specific questions, and they can only ask you specific questions if your CV is actually that precise. If you just say research under Companies Act, then we're like, okay, so you researched Companies Act, why didn't you tell us everything about it? And that's where you're just lost, because now you're stuck because you don't know everything about Companies Act. It's huge.
Yeah. So one of the perspectives I suggest to people is to think that you've got a busy law firm partner taking out time to interview you, who's just gotten off transactions, and the least you can do for your interviewer is to let him or her know what questions to ask you. And usually what happens, however, is that we keep things open-ended and expect that the interviewer will ask us pointed questions. And so we are afraid of leading the interviewer, and the interviewer doesn't know because the interviewer is like neck deep into so many things that if they start asking you the questions they are working on, you'll never have an answer. So what an interviewer expects is if you tell me one or two relevant things and I can then understand what you know, and then I can probably ask you follow-on questions to understand what's your depth. But people, so if you go from that perspective, then you'll think of making your CV in a way that it gives clues, and you will also be prepared with at least that if the recruiter is passive, then I'm going to say these 3 or 4 things. Usually when we listen to people who've already given their interview and we ask them, how was your interview? They say that, it was okay. I answered all the questions they asked. But what about the questions they didn't ask? What if they were not exactly in a very creative frame of mind to ask you new questions to actually be able to appreciate your depth of understanding? So were you able to take them to those places and actually demonstrate that how you are prepared for the job that you applied for? Which takes us to the first question, that you have to actually lead the recruiter, lead the interviewer by offering all that you have. It doesn't matter if it is pre-prepared, but if you are prepared, that first counts.
Absolutely. I mean, even during law school, I think when there were internships coming across, and I remember I applied for this one particular internship with J. Sagar Associates, and like luckily my senior, she knew how CVs are to be and what they expect, and she helped me out. But I was exactly like what students are right now, not having a precise CV and just open-ended bullet points wherein like my senior actually grilled me so much that I was just like, okay, I'm not getting that internship anymore. I don't think I'm going to get it. That was my state of mind. But exactly like what you said, understanding how to direct your interviewer into asking you the questions that you're comfortable with starts from your internship bullet points.
Right. Okay, so this is about a little bit about interviews. We've shared a little about how to go about building your CV. Okay, what's the next part that you want to talk about? By the way, a lot of people are asking for a model CV format. So in case you have, it'll be great if you can send it across to me sometime so that I can share with the viewers. We can share on our groups where the viewers were invited, if you have.
I don't have a model CV, but I can share a document that I had prepared and uploaded on LinkedIn as well.
Sure.
And I can just make a format out of it and just put in random details to give like a...
Perfect. That'll be great because they would really expect something from you. And they've been asking, what is the sample format? Can I use them? So,
so there's actually
filled with these questions.
There's actually a document in my last post previous to the one of the webinar, wherein I've talked about all the bullet points that you need to cover in your resume and your cover letter.
Okay.
But
I'll share that.
Can make a model CV and send it to you.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's the next part you want to talk about, Hrideja?
So continuing how to build your CV. A lot of students have this question that, okay, I've done internships and I've done normal law school courses, but do I need to take up additional courses to make my CV more better? I think it just depends on what your interests are and whether you really want to. Don't do it because you want to spice up your CV. Honestly, I never had any additional courses. Like, I don't think that was even a thing when I was graduating, that you would take up additional courses.
2017, there were additional courses though available in the market. Like when I graduated in 2011, there was nothing.
Yeah, like, but they were available, but like not like widely used.
It
was still starting out that, okay, you can take up additional courses online. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't do a course because it adds to my CV. I would do it if it actually interests me a lot more.
Correct.
So as far as your CV building goes, just focus on internships. And if you're looking for a litigation position in a law firm, or if you're just looking for a position wherein you require public speaking skills, I think moot court competitions really help you with that, because they test your confidence, they test your ability to answer questions in a second. So I think moot court competitions is the right way to go about it. And as far as apart from that, I don't think like publications as well to show that, you know, you're interested in a particular area of law. I think that always helps. But I actually never had publications in my area of interest. I actually had publications in area of interest that I didn't want to do.
Okay.
But I just
and
found
how did
them
that work out?
interesting. It actually worked out really well because I had a story to tell them that yes, my interest lies in business laws, but my interest also lies in this particular area of law. And while I understand that I'm trying to choose a particular career, I think the fact that I am well aware that what happens in two different areas of law shows that how confident I am and what kind of lawyer will I be. So that's how I shaped it, because I presented papers in a different area of law than business laws. And that presentation is what got me through.
For your LLM?
Yes.
Got it. So for those who are interested, I've shared Hrideja's LinkedIn public profile link with all of you. So few questions that we want to take up right now.
Okay.
So Yogendra, you got to tell me what you mean about BSL LLB students, BLS LLB students. Like, what's so different about BLS LLB? I mean, there's no advantage or disadvantage according to me. So it's going to be the same way. The point on the extra courses and achievements, I think the question is this, that a lot of you think that putting one additional course there is going to signal a more high value to your achievements and skills. But the real point to think about is there any new skill which you will learn when you do that course? So if you would learn some new skills, then you can write about those skills, and even the certificate doesn't really matter. For example, if you take up a LawSikho course, we say that the certificate or the name of LawSikho is not the thing that counts. What counts is the assignments you did in the course and the skills you say you've got, and the articles that you published while pursuing the course. Those don't go inside the head of the course, those go separately as your publications. Now, basically that means that gives you an opportunity to build your CV. Now, whenever you're thinking of doing a course, what you have to look at is not from a perspective of I'm sending a high value signal, but I'm actually becoming a high value person. So that is how you've got to think. So you have to always assess a course by whether it is going to give you the skills that you want or not. Okay, and if you can customize to the practice areas of the recruiter that you want to work in, and the practice areas that the recruiter is actually having, okay, that the firm has, that is going to literally be extremely advantageous for you. Okay, where possible, you should totally look at that.
I completely agree, and that actually brings me to an important point for fresh graduates applying. So it depends on where you're applying. So if you're applying for a litigation job and you're applying under a senior advocate in a particular high court or the Supreme Court, and the one thing that I would like that person to do is actually mention only litigation internships, and then write series of other short internships done throughout whatever year that is, like for example 2012 to 2017. So only keep your resume to what you're applying for. Like you have to adapt it to the job and the position that you're applying for, rather than mentioning every single thing that you've done.
Yeah. So does the place where you pursue the online course matter? No, it's the skills that you got from the course. So you should look at the places which are giving you the skills, the courses, and the places that are giving you the skills. In fact, a lot of times, even degrees don't matter as much as your skills, unless it's a pre-qualification to practice. Like I think in California, it's very difficult to not do an LLM and crack the bar exam because they have too many qualification requirements. Or in India, if you want to be a lawyer,
it's a headache. It's a headache. Like I think that was the most torturous time of my life to actually sit and study for California bar. So yeah, I don't usually recommend for people who like don't like failing, because it really takes a hit on you.
Right.
Apart from that, adding to the point of additional courses, I think like even I did an additional course during the lockdown.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I did that only because it's in the same area of law that I'm practicing, and I was actually learning about the European side of it.
Okay.
Which is really helpful.
On M&As.
Venture capital finance.
Got it.
So knowing the European side of it, just like the regulations, the current regulations, what they are, even if I may not know the practical side of it, at least I know theoretically that these are the laws and this is how deals function and this is how investments come in Europe. I think if I'm ever working on a cross-border investment, that knowledge would be really applicable.
Right.
So it like only I would recommend, like apart from skills, also do those courses that you think that where you want to take your career and how it will help you in your particular area of law.
Correct. Okay, now some people are asking about, Pushpadeep has asked how to draft a cover letter if you've not interned earlier in a corporate law firm. From what kind of law firm to begin and send our CV and cover letter?
So drafting a cover letter, so this is what I usually come across. Like I said earlier, what a lot of students do is they say that I'm XYZ person in third year of AVP Law School, and I want to do an internship in the month of July 2020. Then they start off saying, I have interned previously under so-and-so advocate, and I did drafting of so-and-so things, and I researched under so-and-so laws, and I developed research and drafting skills, and then they move on to thank you for considering my application. So this is something that is completely off the line of what a cover letter should be, because you're basically reiterating the same thing that's there on your CV. I mean, I don't think you need to tell them in paragraphs the exact same thing that's there on your CV in bullet points.
Right.
So what I think is a decent or a good cover letter includes is first, of course, your starting paragraph will always be I am so and so person in this year of law school. Seeking an internship in your law firm, specify the dates. It's very important that you tell them that I'm seeking an internship from so and so date. And if you're flexible about your internship dates, then you tell them, however, I would be happy to adapt to a particular set of dates as convenient to the firm. Then you move on to what kind of skills you've developed. So you don't talk about I worked in this so and so person, but you talk about that. For example, let's say you did a lot of drafting of legal opinions, right? For a criminal defense attorney. So you say that I drafted several legal memorandums that have strengthened my legal writing and analysis skills, allowing me to analyze laws from a better perspective. Then you talk about, so now if you're looking for a corporate internship, right? Then you talk about how, for example, previously we were talking about that deal and what were the issues, right? So then you pick up that firm and you talk about this is what the firm worked on. And while analyzing the work that they have done, I came across so and so issues that I would have loved to work under and gain exposure. So what
basically research on the kind of deal and then say how you would have.
Not only the deal, like even the firm, if you are researching.
Firm's work. Okay.
Yeah, or if you're even researching the person. For example, you really admire the work of one particular partner of the firm. So let's say, for example, you would really admire the work of Cyril Shroff and what he has done over the years, and that gaining an experience in his firm under the guidance of lawyers who've been trained by him and so on. That goes to show that, you know, there is a part that you are passionate about working with this firm and you will do everything, you'll give your absolute best, not in the direct words, but more like in the indirect words. So if you can't search a deal and if you absolutely don't understand what the structure is, like you said, it's really complex sometimes and we fail to understand what it is. That's when you can just talk about the firm and talk about, you research the about part of the firm. So usually in about part, they will talk about when the firm was developed and what kind of work they do. And if you go under the tab of, for example, general corporate, you'll see the kind of work they've done. So you get a basic sense of the skills that the lawyer would have.
So I started, correct. Go on.
Yeah, so that's how you incorporate that about part and the skills and how you're a perfect fit for the firm. So you don't necessarily require a deal. If you do and you understand how it works and you can actually write it down beautifully, that's perfect. But if you don't, and I'm sure like a lot of students won't, because not everyone actually ever likes working on deals or understands the nuances of particular procedures. So in that case, I think it's just a matter of how you write your skill set and how that skill set is very similar to what the lawyers have in the firm and how you're a perfect fit.
Okay, then so go ahead. Sorry.
And basically, then you just demonstrate that you have commitment to the work that you do. That's where you bring in that in your previous internship, you had worked in this and this, and you gave your absolute best. And if you want to like just add how you're committed, you can just say that I have attached a letter of reference or a letter of recommendation from my previous internship.
Right. Okay, so I think we've gone a lot in detail. Now, interestingly, I was taking a workshop a few weeks back on how to get a job in a law firm, whether it's or an internship in a law firm, and whether it's in the corporate team or disputes team or any other practice area. We were covering all of that. So it was really transparent now that, you know, law firms are very clearly saying what kinds of practice areas they have, what kinds of matters they've worked on. It's relatively simpler to identify now than, you know, 8 years or 5 years before about what a law firm does, which partner does what. There is just a volume of content available online, and you got to do that research to find out who's done what. So, and that was actually step one that we teach people how to do in that workshop. It's like a 5-hour workshop, and we're having it again on 13th and 14th. Those who are interested can find out here. So the same technique that Hrideja is saying, that how you find out and explain to people how the work they did is inspiring for you. We go into the details of how to find out what work is being done by which law firm in which practice area, and how to backtrack the skills required to say that I know how to do this work. Okay. If you all are interested in that, then I'm sharing a link which you can use to register on the 13th, 14th workshop on how to get a job or an internship in a law firm. Now, a few questions I want to take up, and then I want to do a quick, review of how people can use this conversation to improve their CV or covering letter. So, but before that, just two last questions. One is that are CVs built with CV builders like Novo Resume better than CVs built manually with Word doc? And if such resumes are acceptable everywhere? So, yeah, go ahead.
Keep a traditional resume. Do not go for fancy resumes. Recruiters don't want to see how you've modernized your resume. They just want to see the content of your resume and how well you've put it. So I would recommend just manually building it and organizing it as per the place where you're applying. So like I said, if you're applying for, this is in job scenario and not an internship scenario, because in internship, we don't expect you to have like, all corporate internships or like just all litigation internships. There's obviously going to be different kinds like trial court or NGO or advocate in high court than a corporate. So it's going to be different. So you don't need to organize there, but definitely manually build it. And I don't know about India, whether they're accepted everywhere, but at least in US, they aren't. Like a lot of firms don't like, and this comes from partners that I've met and networked with. And they've all said that we don't want modernized and overly decorated resumes. We want a plain one-page document that tells us what you've done so far.
Right. So I think that if you want to apply to like a startup for a job, not a startup law firm, like a startup, okay, that's when you may want to use a little bit of plug and play tools so that you can say that, I can blend in with the culture. But as far as law firms go, it's fine to like just make a plain text CV. If your CV is substantially good anyway, then whether it's plain text or more decorated with color, it should not matter. But do not use that as a ground to make a 4-page or 5-page CV. It will turn off people. Kavya asked how to highlight your strengths. So my personal view on that is that just write the strengths, even if that means eliminating stuff in the CV. Again, there is an exercise we do where we help people cut off the fluff in their CV and identify only what's relevant. Even if that means that you have a half-a-page CV, use that and then go ahead and write down what would make a difference for your intended job. So even if you've not done all that stuff, write it down and make a plan to do that in the next 3 months, so that whatever you have fancied, which will be relevant for the recruiter, you actually go out and achieve that. Okay, so that is the suggestion I would have for you, Kavya.
I actually agree with that suggestion. It's like a vision board wherein you just write down what exactly you want to do and how, like, why do you need to get there. And I think when you just see that every day, it just helps you actually continue pursuing that particular line.
Right. And Shivani, I would want to share, in fact, this will be relevant for everyone. This is a free book you have, okay, which actually gives you some facts from a survey that we've done, whether you will have whether a CS qualification along with an LLB will give you an advantage for a job as an in-house counsel. Okay, and you will like to read it. So go to this link, take a look, download the report. It's a detailed one, will be useful. Okay. Rukun, what is the meaning 10 minute ka baat 1 ghante mein? What do you mean by that? In what context are you saying? Okay, we're going to proceed now. What are the takeaways that you all have uh, for improving your next application, for improving your CV, and for your next cover letter?
I'm sorry, I lost you. Could you repeat?
No, I was asking the participants that what are the takeaways that they have right now? What is one takeaway, for example, that each one of them has for their CV or for their application process or for their cover letter? Richard, what do you want to know about cracking interviews? We explained a few things. Now you see the stuff we said about leading the recruiter in an interview, going upfront with what you know, and that is what's going to count. And it starts right from the application stage. And in fact, at the application stage, we also suggest that you actually send some videos of your own CV, so a video CV with some explanation of a couple of assignments you've undertaken on video, so that a recruiter understands, can see you, understand how you speak, appreciate your body language and non-verbal cues. So that is something that really counts. That's like a setup for the pre-interview. A lot of times you will be surprised that you can get a confirmation with just that, without having to go even to a real telephonic interview. If you have an interview, then cracking the interview part can be long, but the single step that's important is start from your why, and you would have prepared why activities in college were useful, what you learned from your internships, and you would have to lead the interview. So imagine that just don't make the recruiter do work to figure out what you do best. Okay, make it easy for them. Richard, does this like add up? You can't hear me? Everybody else can hear me.
I think I can hear you.
Yeah, people can hear me. Galaxy Note 10, the person, you just switch on, either connect via device audio or turn up the volume. Okay, there may be some audio issue on your phone. All right, so shall we have some quick takeaways? Hrideja, you want to say something?
Yeah, I'd actually come across a question about follow-up emails.
Oh, yes.
So,
yes, please.
Yeah, so I just want to get to that quickly.
Yeah.
So about follow-up emails, what needs to be what people need to understand is that's not that resending the same email that you'd previously sent, or just saying, hey, I had applied for an internship and I would like to know my status. It's much more beyond that. Your follow-up email actually is that on so and so date, I had sent an email regarding seeking an internship under your law firm from this date to this date. I am writing this email to inquire about whether internship is available in the set dates, or whether there are alternate dates that I could intern with. To give a brief, when you talk about again a bit parts of your email that you had sent, you just give a brief, like you summarize that, and then you say, looking forward to hearing back from you. I've reattached my materials and thank you for the consideration. So that sort of follow-up email is following up properly. It's not just I had applied and kindly revert back to me kind of thing.
Yeah. And do follow up. And people ask me what happens if I don't follow up. If I get a bad response, if somebody gets angry, still follow up. If they are really pissed off with you, they'll tell you. And don't feel bad about that. Because trust me, more often than not, people need to be reminded.
They do.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I mean, now that I'm working and I get a lot of requests on LinkedIn, on messages on LinkedIn. And there are times when I've completely forgotten that, okay, I'd opened the message and I've not replied yet.
Yeah, the biggest problem is if a busy person opens the message and forgets to reply, because then that message won't pop up in their inbox or LinkedIn inbox or their WhatsApp again.
Exactly. So I think sending that follow-up really matters. And be persistent with your follow-up. It doesn't matter. Just make sure you're not following up after every 2 days. I mean, give them the first email you send, then give a 2-week timeline for them to reply. If they don't respond, then send a follow-up email. Then reduce it down to probably 8 days or 10 days and so forth. But be persistent in your follow-ups. Unless they say, please go away and don't email me again.
Yeah, and I actually suggest an offbeat technique for follow-up, which is this: that whenever you follow up with something new. So add in something new that you did, add in a video CV, add in something new that you published. Maybe say this, that I recently got 1,000 likes on my first article, on my next article, and this might be relevant to this deal that the firm worked on. Okay, and I was inspired by that, and I thought I'd write something. You might want to have a look. And if you're not getting any responses, then I think you should just write one article. This is something I suggest, or one email with the headline: challenges faced by law firms in selecting the right candidate. Okay, like make something creative. Okay, so that's the person who's reading it opens it, and then you can write in a postscript that actually I had applied for an internship and I just thought that this would make your job easier. I wanted to help. Okay, and obviously somebody can be really angry with that how dare you tell me how to do my job, but they'll also appreciate the effort that you took to make their life easier, and to what length you can go to make it to be like creative. And I think that really counts.
Exactly. And I think if you still don't get a response, I always believe in reaching out to someone on LinkedIn, or like at least in US, their email IDs are published on their website. So I always reach out to someone else, or I reach out to that same person on LinkedIn who I'm applying to, or who I'm sending my materials to, saying that, hey, I'd sent a particular request and all. But when I approach them on LinkedIn, of course, I don't say that I want to intern with you and like I want to work with you and I sent an email. Just like, hope you're doing well. This is in reference to an email that I had sent on so and so date. And I would love to have a conversation with you anytime that is most convenient for you. Like an informational interview.
Yeah.
So when you're doing a follow-up as an informational interview, right, with the reference that I had emailed earlier regarding an internship or a job application, it makes it a lot more easier because the person knows that, okay, this person is constantly asking because they have applied for a particular position and that's what they need help with. So I think that follow-ups also help a lot. I don't know how much they help.
So information interviews is something that's not taught much here, right?
And yeah, it's not.
So we've prepared a few scripts that people can use for informational interviews, some guidance questions. Again, in that law firm workshop, we share those in detail with you. There's a whole bunch of study materials we give you. So those who are interested, I've shared the link. You can inquire, you can take a look at the page, and you can register if you want. It's like dirt cheap, it's 500 rupees. So it's not too hard, and it's about a 5-hour workshop. So we take you through this in a lot of detail about how to build your specialization. Okay, so a lot of people have been sharing some takeaways on how they can go ahead and use the learnings from this. Should you want to take about a minute to sort of, I want more people to share actually. So I just want to invite all of you to share what all you can, how can you improve your applications. Some of you have shared, but there are more of you who are there in this session. So it'd be great if you can think of some takeaways. Why? Because you need to push your brain to be able to identify what can I take away. Otherwise, there will be a momentary lightness, a momentary emotional high that yes, I found this useful, but you won't have a concrete takeaway for yourself. It's very important to have that. So please share with us what your takeaway is, if you have any takeaway. If you don't have, you can say I can't figure out anything I can improve on. Okay, we're waiting for about 30 seconds. Please share. Got it, Shreyan. Thank you. I think Shreyan is your junior. Yes, second year law student at OP Jindal Global Law University.
Oh, that's nice.
Okay, couple, the practice area and law firm specific research about law firm. Richard, yes. Excellent. So have you all chosen your practice areas of interest, or is that something you all want to work on? Good cover letter. Okay.
I think that's a really nice one that I came across. Write what you really did in your CV and don't copy your friend's CV.
Yeah, good one, Harsha. So, Balakrishnan, you should listen to this video by Simon Sinek called Start With Why. He explains the why part, which Hrideja has been focusing on, that explain why you want to work in that law firm, you will understand in the best way possible, in the most holistic way possible, what is meant by that, why, and how you can demonstrate that. Okay, great. Tanisha's one I really like. The interview is not only about what the interviewer asks you. Good. Okay, so Komal, audio CV say better, it will be video CV. Okay, follow up video CV, because video just enables you to present yourself in a better way, more holistic way actually than audio. Okay, personalizing is important, Tanya Mehta. Okay, great. So thank you everybody. Hrideja, do you want to share any closing inputs?
I'll just give like a brief summary so that everyone just has like what we've spoken about so far.
Right.
I think everyone actually got the parts about cover letter. The parts about resume is that absolutely like make it precise. Make sure your formatting errors aren't there. Make sure that you have highlighted the portions for the job that you're applying to and not just haywirely mentioned every single thing that you've done in your life. I'm particularly saying this because a lot of students write, in 7th grade, I won a medal in this. And I'm just like, okay, it's great you won a medal in science fair, but I don't see how that's relevant. Unless you say that you have a great analytical mind and that's been going on since 7th standard and you somehow explain it. But usually, like if you're applying for a job and if you have that 7th grade medal on it, I don't think it matters. So yeah, that's for resume. Like make sure it's precise. Under 2 pages is what I recommend. 1 page is perfect if you can do it, but it's not usually possible to fit everything in 1 page. And cover letter, I think everyone has really done well with grasping what we've spoken about. So I think that's about it.
Got it. So thank you, Hrideja, for taking out your time to share inputs on this. And people have really liked the session, and you all can share some feedback also, like how it was for you. But I know from the interaction that it was useful at least. Right. And feel free to write your quick feedback here. And thank you, everybody. Keep sharing topics from time to time on what we should be organizing, and stay tuned. Okay, those of you who are interested can visit the How to Get a Job in a Law Firm Corporate and Disputes workshop page. That's something that's useful to get started on. Okay, we'll be conducting this workshop on 13th and 14th, which is Monday and Tuesday, coming Monday and Tuesday. Okay, cheers, everybody. Have a great time. All the best. Stay safe. Thank you, Hrideja.
Thank you so much for having me. And if anyone wants to contact me on LinkedIn, then please feel free to.
Yeah, I've shared her. 1 second. I will reshare. Hrideja, can you share your profile link on LinkedIn? Okay, I found it. I'm sending it. Okay, so that's on LinkedIn. That's on chat. You all can use this. All right, everybody. Cheers and take care and bye. Bye, Hrideja. Thank you. Bye, everyone.